Hey, Grimmy here, and today we're going to be doing something a little bit different that I don't think I've ever actually done on the channel before. We're going to be doing an actual full-length Dokkan video, but I'm not going to be playing any actual content, not like any, combat or crushing bubbles or playing Candy Crush, as some people would say. I'm actually going to be discussing my plan, or my strategy, as a free-to-play player on how I'm going to go up against the 9th anniversary, and I'm not talking about content. I'm talking about banners, the summonable stuff, the gambling part, everyone's favorite part about a gacha game. Now, the anniversary is obviously a pretty big celebration, features some of the most hyped characters that we've seen in the game, and on top of that, we're also, we know what's coming next for TANABATA, which would actually be this UI Goku right here, who was revealed only recently, right? But essentially, this UI Goku is also, I'd say he's part of the discussion on how you should manage your Dragon Stones coming into the 9th anniversary, keeping him in mind for how you are going to spend your stones during the anniversary, making sure you have enough saved up by the time his banner rolls out. But before we do anything, I think it's important to discuss one important part of being a free-to-play player, which is that you can't summon on every single banner, and it is an unfortunate truth, sorry. So if you plan on double dipping in the hopes, or holding the expectation that you're going to pull both of the featured characters in a single part of the celebration, I'd say kind of lower those expectations, right? Because if you are a free-to-play player, I think this video definitely is directed towards the free-to-play community, or like the low-spending community. If you don't want to go ham, you're not a whale, right? You're not Goresh, you're not the truth. You don't really have the kind of budget for spending money, on games like this, and so you're forced to use the Dragon Stones from your time and effort put into the game that you need to spend in order to actually get the characters that you want. And keeping that mindset with me, it is part of how, I've kind of formulated this strategy of mine. I have 1,400 Dragon Stones, or 1,400, however you like to say it. 1,400 Dragon Stones as a free-to-play player is not a lot, considering that I actually got most of those just by logging in. I haven't been playing Dokkan a lot, and I've only really jumped back on the bandwagon once, the big celebrations start, like worldwide download celebration, or the anniversary, kind of like that. And so, remembering that most free-to-play players can't really double dip, it's important to decide which banners you're going to be summoning on as each part of the anniversary rolls out. Now, for part 1, you obviously have this Super Gogeta who transforms into Gogeta Blue, as well as this Super Saiyan Broly, who goes full power in his transformation. If you ask me if I was forced to pick one of the characters, for me, it's easily Gogeta, right? And I'm not saying that because Broly is bad or anything, right? Broly is amazing. He's a movie boss's character, he's a super boss's character, right? And he does an insane amount of damage. If you go on YouTube and you look for videos where people get a character's attack so high to the point where the attack stat doesn't display correctly, it's not with Gogeta, it's not with UI Goku, it's with Broly. And because of that, it's really tough to say that Broly he's not a bad character by any means, he's good. But the thing is that that's largely offense, right? And the thing about Gogeta is that he does have defensive mechanics, right? He has the taunt ability, he's the first character to have ever dropped with the ability to taunt as like a summonable LR. And I think that holds so much value because once you balance offense and defense, that's where you really find the best of the best, right? Characters who lean too much into offense just don't really have a place in the game, and characters who lean too far into defense will eventually get outdated as the bosses get stronger and stronger and they're less capable of tanking the heavier hits from the normals, the supers. And because of that, I'm going to use like 30% of my Dragon Stones on this Gogeta, so I'm probably going to do the math after the fact, so you're probably going to see a bit of text on the screen how many Dragon Stones I would be spending with my 1,400 Dragon Stones, as, how much is 30% of that and how much I would be spending. And say, for example, I get lucky and I pull Gogeta before I spend my entire 30% of my Dragon Stones, I'm probably going to move to the Broly banner, because a person on the channel, when I used to do Dokkan Battle shorts, sorry, the birds out here are just incredibly loud, beasts, bro. But a person who commented on one of my Dokkan shorts in the past actually pointed out a pretty decent fact, which is that it's better for you to pull newer characters as opposed to pulling dupes of old ones. And obviously the context of that is using your summon coins, where should you spend them? It's better for you to actually get new characters because they have new kits, a new set of categories and links that you can end up using, in collaboration with a bunch of other characters that you already have. And in that sense, as a free-to-play player, going for anything above 55% is very reckless. And, obviously, it could pay off if you're willing to take the risk, but I highly vote against it, but I strongly vote against it. Because the thing about Gogeta, the reason you even want to have this Gogeta is because of his taunt. That's it. Like, as opposed to that, obviously, he has high damage, the standard things that make a modern summonable LR. But he has that taunt mechanic, and without having any dupes, this Gogeta already has that mechanic. And on top of that, he doesn't tank. He dodges with the taunt, and so you don't actually need to build up any kind of defense with the hidden potential system. And so again, as a free-to-play player, a non-spending player, it is better for you to just pull the character once, move on to the next banner, or just start saving from then on. If I do end up pulling Gogeta, I'm definitely going to move over to Broly's banner, see, and test my luck. If I do pull him once, that's great. I'm spending until part 2 drops. Say for example, I spend 30% of those 1400 Dragon Stones and I don't actually pull Gogeta, I'm probably just going to skip the entire part 1. I'm going to be saving a bunch of extra Dragon Stones because, and I'm going to talk about this later in the video, but Gogeta is not the strongest of the strong units that are going to drop in this series of celebrations. Because moving on to part 2, we have obviously the GOAT, Gohan Beast, obviously a really popular character. And of course, we have the counterpart, or I guess the character who's dropping with him. It would be, Gamma 1 and 2. Now, again, as a free-to-play player, you're not actually inclined to double dip. It's not exactly a very good decision to, spend your Dragon Stones on both banners, expecting to get something. It's better to focus on one and just gun for that feature at LR, as opposed to having that expectation of, I'm probably going to get both. Highly unlikely stuff. If you're going to force me to pick, it's very obviously Gohan Beast. I'm not going for Gamma 1 and 2. And again, not to say that Gamma 1 and 2 are a bad unit. They're really not. Awesome standby skill, amazing OST, which is, and I'm not kidding, it is actually one of my favorite OSTs that have come out of the anniversary celebration. And on top of that, he's just a very powerful and, I guess, a good way to say it is well-rounded LR who's on artificial life forms. So whenever you face a mission that has artificial life forms, you can throw this guy in and they'll do a pretty good job, especially when that finish skill crits. And so yeah, they have the ability to deal damage, and on top of that, with the finish skill. But overall, they're just a much more modern artificial life forms character, and they're on a bunch of other categories. So let's check this out. He is on superheroes, but I don't really recommend running these guys on superheroes. It wouldn't really fit, especially considering that we already have Gogeta from before, UI Goku, both the one that's easy A-ing from the 6th anniversary, or, the one that's dropped recently for Tanabata. He's on, what is Gamma 1 and 2 on, other than that? Special pose, when they drop God of Destruction Topo, these guys are going to come in, and, they can definitely put in work, even if they may not be the optimal option, but having these characters obviously isn't a bad thing. So if you want to summon on Gamma 1 and 2, it's not like I'm going to tell you no, but it's just that summoning on Gohan Beast is a much better decision. He has the taunt, and he doesn't rely on dodging. He can just purely tank all of the damage through his taunt, and on top of that, he's just a much better superheroes character. As a character, at the start of turn, more and more fights nowadays are being introduced where you have to be good from the start of the battle, and if you're not, you're just not going to make the cut, and you're going to die early every single time. And this Gohan doesn't exactly have trouble dealing with that problem, and so that gives him an extra amount of value that puts him above Gamma 1 and 2. So if part 2 does drop, I'm going to be spending probably, I'd say 40% of what I have left in terms of Dragon Stones on this Gohan Beast banner, and if I do end up getting him, that's great. If I pull him once, I'm not going to go for any dupes. I'm moving straight to Gamma 1 and 2's banner. Because if I'm being completely honest, my artificial life form seems very weak, my androids team is very outdated, and so having these guys getting the opportunity to pull this character is not bad for me at all. But once again, if I had to summarize from this point on, we have Gogeta and Gohan Beast. These are the two characters that I'm going for, the main featured LRs that I'm gunning for, and the ones that I'm aiming to get, as opposed to Broly and Gamma 1 and 2, they're the secondary ones. If I do end up getting the opportunity to summon on the banner, I will, but if I don't, then I'm not going to force it. And over time, right, I'm going to be saving my Part 1 and Part 2 LRs, because I'm basically setting up a budget for myself, and moving all of the Dragon Stones to the end, where we have this dilemma, right? Quote, put it in quotes, obviously, dilemma, between Ultra Instinct Goku and Cell Max, which is ridiculous. It is not a debate. In the Japanese version of the game, obviously, Cell Max and Ultra Instinct Goku, they have very close release dates, and obviously Cell Max does have value. Again, I think it's important to disclose that Cell Max is not a bad character. He's the defensive taunt character for super bosses, so he basically fills the role of Gohan Beast on the super bosses team, which the team does desperately need. But come on, like, there's no way anyone is spending Dragon Stones for Cell Max over this UI Goku. He's the best unit in the game by far. Which is why I'm probably going to go all in on this UI Goku's banner, not even joking. This is probably the best opportunity to go all in, and even then, it's not going to be fully all in. The moment I get, like, pull him once and then pull another dupe to get him to, one route unlocked on the hidden potential system, then I'm probably going to stop. Because the 10th anniversary is coming, and obviously I want to have Dragon Stones to hold on to by that point. Again, like, if people try to debate and say, oh, I want to spend Dragon Stones on Cell Max before I spend on Ultra Instinct Goku's banner, I mean, sure, if you think that's a good decision, it's just not very much recommended, because you want to put all your stock on the best character in the game. And I'm going to admit this openly, I don't have a good Super Bosses team at all. It's trash. I don't have physical Goku Black. And I'm not going to summon on the other Super Boss characters like Broly from before, and probably not going to summon on Cell Max. So if someone does choose to summon on Broly and Cell Max, they're probably going to have a better Super Bosses team than I will. But as a free-to-play player, I'm going to focus on the best units in the game. I'm going to make sure I pull these characters first before I focus on these secondary characters. I'm banking on the fact that I may pull Gamma 1 and 2, Broly, Cell Max in a future banner. They may show up in a random celebration banner, and I'll pull them on accident. And then I can just run them on the teams that I need to run them to clear certain missions. Because if you're going to force me to clear difficult content, I'm running superheroes, obviously. Ultra Instinct Goku, Gohan Beast, and Gogeta. And if I were to make a list of the priority of which characters you want to spend the most Dragon Stones on, out of the 3 characters that I've pointed out from before, right? Gogeta from Part 1 of the Anniversary, Gohan Beast from Part 2, and Ultra Instinct Goku from the Tanabata period. If I had to make a list on the priority of which characters I would spend the most Dragon Stones on, it's the same order as if you were to measure from the latest character. I'm going to spend the most on Ultra Instinct Goku, moving on to Gohan Beast, and then into Gogeta. If it loads, there we go. And into Gogeta. And the reason for that is very simple. It's in Goku's domain. I don't think Dokkan Info actually shows his domain. I don't think they do. Do they? I don't think so. But yeah, no domain. It doesn't show here, but Goku's domain gives the ability to all superclass. I forgot the conditions, but essentially certain characters have the ability to ignore the effects where it nullifies evasion, right? Some bosses nowadays nullify evasion. Like, for example, Broly, I believe, from the movie saga Red Zone stage, the final Broly one. In his final form, in his full power, max power, Super Saiyan form, he does ignore or nullify dodges, so UI Goku is basically useless in that event. But not this UI Goku, because he does have that ability, and on top of that, he counters, right? He has a guaranteed chance of dodging, and that he counters every single time. It is broken. It is not an overstatement to say that this character in the game, as of right now, is without equal. Even without dupes, if you were to take a fair measurement of these characters without dupes, this guy would come out on top every single time. And that's without any kind of discussion or debate. It is not a contest, which is why I'm going to be spending the most on this guy, spending my most Dragon Stones on this character, right? He also has a 200% leader skill, so, it's something worth copying, honestly. And on top of that, I said before that, out of all the teams that I would like to run, I would run superheroes. And another reason for that, and why this Goku is such a great option for that, even if he doesn't really lead the team, is because by the time this Gohan's intro runs out as the first slot character, this Goku can transform. This UI Goku can transform. And so he basically replaces Gohan Beast in the first slot, and they can be on the same rotation, right? UI Goku and Gohan Beast, and then they can just switch places. As Gohan Beast starts off in the first slot, he can move to the second slot when Goku transforms. This is essentially where I think the value really comes from with UI Goku, is because he just works together with these other units so well. And the same goes for Gogeta, right? Because the thing about Gogeta's taunt is that it essentially becomes useless if the enemy can nullify dodges. Up until this point, of course. But if you have Gogeta and this... Sorry, it's just... my clicks are kind of missing. But have that Gogeta on top of this UI Goku, what you'll essentially find is that with Goku's domain up, Gogeta can now evade all attacks while he taunts. And that's essentially going to give Gogeta so much more value and bring him back into the meta as more and more bosses have the ability to nullify dodge. Which is why I think this Goku is just so broken, and a character who I'm focusing on as one of the units that I'm going to be spending the most Dragon Stones on as these as these celebrations, in general, roll out sequentially. But yeah, that's going to be my strategy. 30% of my current Dragon Stones on this Gogeta, and moving on to the second banner if I do get the chance, if I do have some remaining in the budget. And then spending 40% of what I have left on this Gohan Beast, and then also moving on to the secondary LR Gamma 1 and 2 when I do still have some to spare in the budget. I don't know, skipping Cell Max? I don't know what to do with Cell Max if I'm being completely honest. If I have a lot of Dragon Stones, I'll go like a couple of summons on there, but I don't think I'm going to be going all in or put in too much effort to pull the unit overall. And dude, I'm going to go all in, or like mostly all in, I guess. If you were to take the definition of all in, it's not technically going all in, because I'm going to aim for like one unlocked hidden potential route, and then I'll back out. I'm not going to summon on him anymore, and I'm going to save Dragon Stones for the 10th anniversary, because that's just how us free-to-play players play, man. But yeah, considering that I've already recapped, I don't know how many Dragon Stones that would be on this UI Goku, however many it's going to take. But yeah, the anniversary is coming very close. It's going to drop in 7 days, a whole week from now, and so I thought this video would be a great point of, not a great point. It would bring up a good point of discussion and something to talk about on the channel. Let me know in the comments down below what you think about, my summon strategy, or how you're going to go about the 9th anniversary and TANABATA. How are you going to manage your Dragon Stones? Because at the end of the day, this video is not really a place for me to flex how many Dragon Stones I have, or what strategy I'm going to be using to spend them the best. It's really a PSA to tell you to spend your Dragon Stones wisely, because these celebrations are going to come left and right, and if you make a very reckless decision, you come in just completely unprepared, it's going to screw you over in the long run, because you're not going to have a lot of these major units who are quite literally meta-defining. But yeah, let me know in the comment section down below if you have any kind of, criticisms that you'd like to share. I'd love to talk about it and, really have a discussion in the comment section. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like, and make sure to subscribe, to check out any other videos that may come in the future. But yeah, I think that's going to do it for this video. Bye, and thanks for watching.